Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about something that everyone on Instagram asked me to make a YouTube video about, and I will just cut right to the chase. Last week, in honor of Pride, I came out as bisexual on Instagram, and I had a lot of people asking me questions, and I just felt like all of those answers to those questions and kind of this discussion deserved a place like in a permanent video rather than me just talking about it on my Instagram. First of all, I received so much love on Instagram when I announced this. That's one thing that I was nervous about, announcing that I was bisexual, just because there is a lot of biphobia. I know that I used to have this misconception that bisexual people were just lesbians or they were just like confused. I don't know. I think a lot of people have that conception. And especially being someone who is married to a man, I felt like announcing or talking about my sexuality, I didn't want people to confuse that with anything else, because again, I am very happily married to a man, and that doesn't invalidate my sexuality, but I also feel like that's a big reason why I didn't talk about it sooner. One thing that a handful of people messaged me about were people who are also like me, who are bisexual women, who are married to men with children, and just because, one, I feel like it's really easy for people to forget your sexuality when you are in a straight passing relationship. And I am not trying to diminish like the stigmas that are there and the like what people who are in non-straight passing relationships, like I don't want to say that my struggle is more than that, because it's not. I'm just trying to say that I think people forget about that, and so when you are not, like as a bisexual person, if I am not in a relationship with a woman, people are going to be like, well, you're really just straight. My experience as a bisexual woman is valid even if I'm married to a man. And that's something that I really had to talk with myself about and really like come to terms with and make sure that I was comfortable with it before I was ready to talk to other people about it. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about coming out, how I came out. So like I just said, I made a post on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me, please. I will put a link in the description, but yeah, I came out on Instagram. However, it was not new news to some people. So obviously my husband already knew, otherwise that would have been quite a shock to him. I did text him and give him a heads up. He was at work that day, and I did text him and I was like, hey, I've decided that it's time and I'm gonna post this just so you have a heads up so you're not surprised if somebody texts you or you see it or whatever. And he was of course super supportive. I first came out to close friends on my Finsta about a year ago, because it was during Pride Month last year, and I came out to like a handful of close friends and family. And then I also came out on Twitter a few months ago, as well as on my podcast. And the reason was because I got a little bit tipsy while I was recording a podcast with my husband, and said that I was, and we decided to keep it in because it's something that I talk about and I didn't want to feel like I was hiding something. And then decided that I should probably just announce it on Twitter too. But I was a little bit slower for Instagram just because a lot more people follow me there, and most of the people on like my Twitter somewhat know, like my audience is a lot smaller there, and so it feels a lot scarier to announce it to like over 50,000 people versus like 2,000 people. The first question that I got was, did you know your whole life, or was it something you discovered about yourself later? No, it's not something I knew my whole life. Sorry, I just moved the camera because I was really annoyed at, I'm right next to a window and the light on my face. Anyway, I moved the camera, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I think that girls find themselves assuming that it's just a really close friendship, or that they really like that person, like who they are, and they want to be like that person, and that's why they have like not an obsession with them, but that's like why they have a girl crush on them. I definitely had friends in high school that I had crushes on, and I just didn't really realize that's what it was. I just assumed that it was a really close friendship, that, you know, we were just really good friends. And I didn't really realize it until I was in college. I think that I really realized that I was attracted to girls when I met my husband, which seems off, but I grew up Mormon. Your sexuality is incredibly oppressed in that church. Growing up in that environment, it was absolutely like, you don't even think about that, because sexuality is like, if you're not straight, it's a choice and all that bullshit. I grew up in that environment, and so I didn't have a chance to act on that. So that kind of answers another question that I got a lot, which was, have I ever had a sexual experience with a woman? And the answer to that is no, unfortunately. And I know that saying that makes me sound like so unfortunate that I married my husband. I don't know. I'm nervous about making this video because I don't want people to read into this thinking that, like, again, like it invalidates my relationship with my husband at all, because it doesn't. Do I wish that I had had a chance to explore that side of my sexuality before I got married? Yes. But that doesn't mean that I want to cheat. That doesn't mean that I want to, like, explore anything outside of my marriage, because I think that I am allowed to have those two emotions. I'm allowed to be like, I love my husband and I don't want to, like, do anything with anyone else, while also feeling sad that I wasn't able to explore that part of my sexuality when I was single. In college, I did kiss a few girls, but like it was during like spin the bottle. Like, I didn't actually kiss girls. Now, with the knowledge that I have, I look back and I think, yeah, there was a part of me that knew that I was not completely straight when I was in high school, but I just didn't acknowledge it. It wasn't even a thought that I could entertain. I know that that's kind of all over the place. Like, I don't really have a solid answer of like when I knew I was bi. I also, like, I wish that I had like a pinpointed like moment where I saw a girl and was like, I want to make out with her and therefore I'm bisexual. I never really had that, because I think, like I said, I had crushes on friends in high school that I didn't realize were crushes. And now that I know, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely had a crush on that friend, but obviously didn't act on it. Obviously nothing came of it because I didn't know, and now I do. Another question that I got was how I reacted to it when I realized. I think it was so much of a process to realize. I think that by the time I really fully was like, yes, I'm bisexual, I didn't feel like shame from it or like guilt. Like I think I would have if I had the chance to realize it when I was younger. I think if I had not grown up in such an oppressive church, I definitely would have realized it a lot sooner. And I think I definitely would have acted on it, and would have been able to experience that before meeting my husband. So I didn't have that. I didn't have like any of those negative feelings. I will say, and again, this is no disrespect to my wonderful husband who I love so much. Like, when I really truly, like, I know I said I realized in college, but I think at that point I called it like bi-curious. Like, I was curious about girls because it was fun, you know? Like, I think that I realized that, and I think that's, I mean, and at that time I was dating my husband, like when I started to realize that. When I fully realized that I was bisexual and not just like, you know, girls are really pretty and, you know, all that stuff. Like, when I fully realized it was after I was married. The emotion that I felt was honestly kind of sad. And it's not, and again, I'm not trying to invalidate the relationship I have with my husband, because I wasn't sad that, like, couldn't that moment go out and like hook up with a girl. Like, that wasn't where my sadness came from. I think it was just a sadness that there's an entire side of myself that I wasn't allowed to explore or learn about or anything like that. Not like a really sad, not like depressed, not like I'm super upset that I never got to have experience with girls, but I think that there is a little bit of, I think it's okay that I was a little bit sad that there's like a core part of who I am that I just didn't realize until I was over the age of 20. Sadness in that aspect, but I'm really grateful for my husband and I love him and he has been so helpful and supportive. That leads into another question I got a lot was how I told Seth, what I told Seth, how he reacted, specifically how he reacted. Honestly, I think Seth realized that I was bi before I like fully came to terms with it. He was never pushy. He was never like, oh, I think you're into girls. We ended up having, over the course of like a year, a lot of conversations kind of about it, but in like a roundabout way. Like we would be talking about something else and it would kind of relate to that and we would kind of talk about it. But it was never, there really was never like a really blatant conversation where I sat my husband down and said, I'm bisexual, because I didn't have to. We had enough conversations where like we talked about it and alluded to it to the point where he did know. And then there was a very specific time that I guess is the first time that I actually said that I was bi, was a few years ago. It was before I was pregnant with Rosen. We had a bunch of friends over for like drinks and games, and I got drunk, and a friend of ours was like a new friend, and she was sitting with us. We were all like, there's a big group of us, probably like 10 people or so, and my friend, she said something that insinuated that she was dating girls. Then she said, in case you didn't know, I'm bi. And me, very drunk, said, no way, me too. Everyone got a little bit quiet, but then they also just like kind of moved on because they recognized that that was not something I'd said before, and I kind of just came out while I was drunk. Like as I was preparing to record this video, I thought a lot about it, and I didn't feel like I had like a specific moment where I sat my husband down and I told him. I think that he just kind of knew because we talked about it a lot. Like we kind of just had conversations where I kind of mentioned like, yeah, I think I'm attracted to girls as well, and he never, at least in my, like how I perceived it, never really felt threatened by that. He's always really sweet and understanding, and he's never tried to make me feel bad for that side of myself. So another question is, does it change anything with my husband? No. My husband and I love each other. My husband and I have a great relationship. Yeah, so it doesn't change anything. I feel like our relationship is exactly the same as it always has been, and relationships are constantly evolving, but my sexuality, like, I think that when people ask that, they're assuming that, I don't know, like, why would it change anything? I'm still attracted to men. Like, it's not, I'm not only attracted to women, I'm also attracted to men, and I'm very attracted to my husband. But no, it doesn't change anything. It's just, if anything, it just makes me, I feel more confident in our relationship because I'm comfortable with my sexuality, and I'm comfortable with where I'm at, and I'm comfortable with the relationship that I have with him, more so now that I like feel like I'm being true to myself. I feel like that's basically it. That's like as well as I can encapsulate my experience. I truly just really the only thing that I wish was different was just that I had a chance to like realize that I was bisexual earlier. Like I just wish that in high school I had known. But I'm in love with my life, and I'm in love with where I'm at, and I'm just so happy that I, like, honestly, this last weekend, this like weight off of me, and I didn't even realize it was there. Like I didn't even realize, because it's not like I was actively like hiding my lifestyle from anyone on Instagram or anywhere, but just knowing that I had this little secret and like fully just telling everybody and coming out feels really good. And so I'm really grateful for all of the support that I've gotten. The last thing I'll say is the only somewhat negative thing I got, a bunch of men DM'd me saying, well, what about your husband? Bitch, what about him? Like, being bisexual does not invalidate my relationship with my husband, so like that is not a necessary comment to make. But everyone else has been so great and nice. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment them or follow me on Instagram and DM me, and I will do my best to answer them. I can do a follow-up if needed. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys next time.